Hello, Internet! Welcome to Two and a Half Brains. This is our Survivor Season 44, Episode 8 recap. We're talking all about it, break it all down. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, Pavement Road Prod on Facebook. Email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe right there on the YouTube channel as well. Share the post and tell your friends to help spread the word. So this is Episode 8. Of the season. We're gonna have maybe another month or so of the show, and that's about it. So obviously subscribe so you get all the updates, and we'll get out to you. Try to get out to you immediately after the episode, like we are now. In most of the time, if we can going forward. I don't see anything too much going forward that should interfere. So let's go ahead and bring in the better half of the show. I'll go ahead and bring in Jessica. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, all right.
What's the good word?
Nothing.
Keep talking about a word, but what's the good word?
Nothing.
Okay.
I'm very stuffy because the weather goes from 80 to 40 in a day, and then switches every 5 seconds, so it's quite annoying. So I'm very stuffy right now, and have a little. You probably can hear my voice. I'm a little bit congested.
Yeah, same.
So as we do, we're going to talk about 3 moments that mattered. We're going to talk about the bottom player of the week, talk about the rest of the cast, give them pluses and minuses, and then talk about the top player of the week as we wrap up.
Sweet.
Make sense?
Yes.
Before we do that, though, I want to talk about one other thing. Obviously, the sad news from today. I heard it last night, actually, but it wasn't confirmed. And then it was obviously confirmed this morning that one of our favorite players of all time, Keith Nell, passed away. This morning, or I guess yesterday. 62 years old, and he had cancer for about 4 months. Just awful. Awful. And obviously, his son, Wes, confirmed, and his son, Wes, played with him on the show. So it was obviously very, very sad to hear. A lot of us really liked Keith, and he wasn't an amazing Survivor player, but he was super entertaining, super likable, and a lot of fun. And we're definitely, he was definitely a good guy, and all of us, now males and now females, are certainly upset. Sad to hear the news, but definitely, definitely too bad. Definitely sad day. Obviously, there's no easy way to transition. So we'll talk. Go back in the episode. The one thing I did hear. One of the best Keithisms is when he said he moved recently. This was I think after his second chance this season, the second time he played. He was doing an interview. He said he moved recently to Keith Road in Keithville. Just such a Keith thing to do. So definitely one of my all time favorites. He was one of his favorite. My favorite Keith quote on Survivor was, "People always ask if Survivor's fun," and I say, hell no. Survivor ain't fun. Going on a cruise is fun. Going fishing is fun. Going play golf is fun. Survivor ain't fun.
True story.
Yeah, so.
Watching Survivor is fun also, she's very true.
Yeah. So I thought that was really sad today, but it, didn't know him personally, so obviously, his thoughts and prayers with his family. But we'll move on. Obviously, hard to move on from talking to someone like them that deep to a stupid reality TV show. But let's go ahead and talk about the 3 moments that mattered, and we'll start with moment number 1 if we can.
Don't get cocky, kid.
Yes, that's moment number 1. What is that?
Kane talked about how he was feeling very comfortable, but he doesn't want to feel too comfortable. So he said his mantra is, "Don't get cocky, kid," because you can easily get blindsided.
Yep. And he was talking about how comfortable he was, and Brandon was talking about how comfortable that he was, and really that whole tribe was talking about how comfortable they are, and that's just, as soon as you say it, it's going to get edited on your boot episode. It's going to be what they showing boot episode. Like, it's so obvious at this point. Like, you knew something was going to happen because they said it. Anytime anybody says anything like that on the show, it's going to get edited into the show. Even if they say like 75 times, I'm not feeling confident. The one time you say I'm feeling confident, that's going in the show on your boot episode.
You're done. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that was certainly an omen for sure. And I'm gonna start to the episode with that for sure. What is next?
Divide into pairs.
Yeah. So what was that?
So for the immunity challenge, everybody on the tribe had to divide into pairs of 2, obviously pairs, and they were each competing in pairs against each other in, what was it, 3 different stages of the immunity challenge.
The first 2 at least, yeah.
Well, yeah, the first 2, and then after that you're on your own. For the last 4 people standing were on their own to win individual immunity.
Yep. So I liked it in this case because they. So obviously the first stage, there was it's five pairs. The first stage 1 pair gets knocked out. Second stage 2 more pairs get knocked out, and then they it's 4 individuals competing, and basically it's one of those when you stand on the little slab of wood between 2 pieces of wood, basically, and you're standing on it with your toes, trying to keep your balance and hold on.
Different levels of it. You get thicker at the top, and as you go down, it gets thinner and thinner for your feet. Basically, just the sides of your feet to stick onto.
Exactly. Basically, it's your toe at that point. And so it was an interesting challenge. I've done similar stuff before, and I do like it when they do that. I will say I like better when they let the players pick their own tribes, their own teams, their own pairs, whatever.
Instead of having to draw for teams,
yes.
draw rocks.
Less randomness, less producer involvement.
Yeah, I mean, they can strategize that way with how they're going to pick their team.
Right, and they did it beforehand. They told me beforehand, at the camp. It wasn't like on the spot. It was like at the camp beforehand. Hey, pick your
They
pair.
Walked in with their, kind of. They walked with their teammates to the boat, whatever.
Yeah.
But
so and like I said, I like that a lot more. I mean, sometimes you don't want all that because the show wants to split up. Actually, it was on Keith's original season. There was an alliance that was running the game, and they even did the challenges so that they would not offend anybody, also win the challenge. It was very. They were steamrolling. I mean, they were steamrolling the whole way. And so Jeff and the producers got mad, and they kind of hey, we have to, kind of yelled at them and kind of tried to add some suspense to it a little bit, if you will, because it was very, right down the line. So that kind of stuff gets boring if they just, if one side just rolls the whole way. On the flip side, if there's too much producer interference and involvement, then it's it gets unfair, and it gets kind of too random, when there's everything's drawn, you do a random draw for everything, or producers, throw a twist in there at a certain time that will make it so it's too random. Now the winner had no agency in the game; they just happened to get the twist, all the twists to break their way, So you want it so there's some randomness. So it's not just straightforward, but you also want the producers to have, you want the players to have more say than producers in how the game's played, and I like that they let them pick their own team, their own pairs. So I would like to see that more often. I would say, and if if you're gonna do a random draw or something, show it. It might be interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that they would show it if it was interesting. So either way.
Yeah.
What is next? Anything else to add up to that?
No. I guess interesting how they divided the teams up.
Yeah.
I was surprised with Brandon and Kane pairing together just because they were strong, figuring they want to divide up with maybe someone they want to help or, keep with them till the individual part.
Yeah, that was an interesting thought too. I didn't really think about that. They were playing it's a smart idea, right? You take, Brandon and Kane, they're confident in themselves. They take 2 weak people. Take Carson, who's been throwing up all day.
Because you're 2 strong people trying to beat each other.
Right. Instead of having to beat 2 other people who are also maybe good. So that was interesting. Kane or Carson was throwing up all day, so he was he wasn't in a great spot. He went up with Carolyn. Carolyn couldn't get out of the first part of the obstacle, so they got knocked out. And then it was Heidi and Jamie who got knocked out on the second one with Franny and Jam. They got knocked out on the second leg. And then it came down to Brandon and Kane and Danny and Lauren. Kane fell first, then Brandon, and then Danny and Lauren won the individual immunity.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is next?
Pendulum strategy.
So moment matter number 3 is pendulum strategy. So Will Wall from Millennials vs. Gen X, at the time the youngest player to ever play, he was still in high school when we went on the show. He talked about how he wanted to do the pendulum strategy. He tried to bring in Hannah into it. Now, where Will made the mistake is instead of deciding on the pendulum strategy with somebody, he decided to do the pendulum strategy and then try to bring somebody into it. Whereas Jam's like, hey, we should keep switching back and forth. between the alliances and keep them from feuding with each other, so they're not looking at us. And Carson's like, yes, and that's exactly, they agreed on that together, and so it seemed like that's what they're gonna do. Mm-hmm. What Will did wrong in his season is he did it, and he said, hey Hannah, we should do the pendulum strategy. She goes, yeah, but she was with the alliance already, so she went up on the alliance. So she would have had the blood on her hands if she flipped, where Will didn't because he wasn't in the alliance. So he was basically trying to get her to flip on her alliance and then stick with him going forward. But she had to get the blood on her hands first, and she didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So these guys, they could kind of both jump back and forth, and that way they're both making the same moves and both have the same agency and get the same blame as well. So pendulum strategy, it's a great strategy if it works. It's hard to get to work because people eventually see that you're jumping back and forth, and they take you out.
Yeah.
But
once there's not as many people, or if someone talks.
Right, and the good news for them is the green and the yellow both seem to kind of hate each other.
I think Selena likes the pendulum strategy.
She likes the yes. It's not really a pendulum, but it's same idea.
I forgot what the thing is. They got it at the Science Museum.
Yes, it is a pendulum, but this is.
Technically, it would be a pendulum if it was hanging a string.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it is.
Sort of.
Goes round and round it goes.
Yes, she loves it.
Mm-hmm.
She loves it. I love when she just sits there, flops to the side, and hits it, and then it's like, all right, enough of this, and she hits it again.
And she runs away.
Attacks it. And attacks it. Exactly. I love it. She's pretty great.
So easily amused.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any event. Yeah. So it's not great to describe that on audio only.
Yeah.
If it was video, maybe we would be able to show it. But
it's basically a ball and a track that just goes in a circle, and she loves it.
She loves it so much. Anyways, so.
He loves water. That's all he wants.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's the idea of the pendulum strategy. It's hard to get to work, but if you get it to work, you do a really good job. I mean, the first ever person to do this really was Rob Cesternino on season 6. He took, he was in an alliance. He flipped over to the other side. Then they were still mad at each other, so he flipped back over the other side. And they, was kind of able to, weave and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of players have tried to do it since. And if you don't get caught, it can work really well.
Right.
But Will did it. He wanted Hannah to flip over with him. He flipped over, gave Hannah a side of the numbers, and then she voted him out because he couldn't be trusted. So,
anyways,
moving on to the who did not survive of this episode.
Yeah.
And of course, I did it. It's my fault.
Yeah, I know.
Anybody who make a winner pick is doomed.
Yep.
And I didn't think he was going to win. I really didn't. I just wanted him to. I was, one of the people I actually found super likable. So, Brandon did not survive the vote this week. Yep. And I think he only got 3 votes against, maybe 4.
Yeah, I think it was 3. Can't really figure out who the 4th would have been.
Yeah.
But yes, of course, my second basically winner pick went out because it's a good thing I kind of picked 2 since mine went out in the very first freaking second of the damn show.
Exactly.
So
Brandon went out. The votes were for Franny. Danny played his idol on Franny, saving her. I think she had 6 or 7 votes against. They all bounced back off of her, and then there's only a couple votes left, and they were all for Brandon. Mm-hmm. And Brandon was voted out. What did Brandon do wrong?
I wouldn't necessarily say wrong, but he was with the numbers, had the majority. He was with the tribe that won all the time. He was strong, and everybody knew it. He couldn't hide. What did he do wrong? He couldn't hide. He didn't try to hide.
Yeah. I mean, he said he wanted to get rid of the threat of Franny because she's a threat in the game, blah blah. And for somebody like Brandon, that's not smart because you want to keep the threats.
Yeah.
There are no alpha males in this game. They're all beta males and gamma males at this point. They're all losers. So what you should do is keep other threats in the game if you're Brandon, because they're like, all right, well he's the only one here who's the threat. So they vote him out because he's the only one who's the threat. He wasn't flexible enough. What was the thing? He was locked in his lines. He wanted to stick with his lines. Lines strong all the way down the end. And if you march with them all the way down the end, he probably wins. That's one good thing about being the big threat.
So you're saying this game is not a person that for people that have integrity.
No.
Don't play this game.
Correct.
Even for $1 million.
Correct. what you should do, or if you have integrity, you have to be somewhat flexible, and then you have to own it. Like Mike on Marianne's season, he had integrity somewhat. He was on the fringes of it at least, but he tried to say he played in game with integrity, and that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to say, I tried to play a game with integrity. It's hard to do that, but I didn't personally attack anybody. That kind of thing, and like that you can get the votes for, but you have to have because like again, if someone comes to you and says who you vote for, you say you're gonna get voted out. You suck.
Mm-hmm.
You're a terrible player. You have to lie to that person. But if you're not, going out of the way to personally go after somebody, that's where the, that part comes in. So, you can't be an idiot, but you also, if you want to have some integrity, fine, but you can't be an idiot.
Yeah.
I think he was not flexible enough. He was, locked into his alliance. He was the only threat, real big, big challenge threat. He couldn't lower his threat level because he was, the only threat. And I think he did. I think he wasn't very strategic. I really don't think he was.
Mm.
There was one thing he should have done differently.
What's up?
I think I kind of mentioned to you off air.
Mm-hmm.
Who would if I was Brandon, and that group, Brandon, Lauren, Jamie, and Kane, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you can get them to split, fantastic. It's kind of hard to do that. You're not sure if you have everybody, whatever. So you really don't know if you can split. Even if you can't, who should they throw the votes on?
Out of just Brandon, Lauren, Kane, and Jamie.
If I'm Brandon, Lauren, Kane, Jamie, if I'm that group,
Yeah.
instead of throwing on Franny, who should I throw it on?
Danny.
No.
Jam or Carolyn or Carson.
Heidi.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You throw out a Heidi because that's like going back again to that season with like Zeke and Will and all them, and the first vote after the merge, the millennials were down the numbers, and it was basically the Triforce of Michelle, Jay, and Taylor, and Jay could have had an idol, Taylor might have had an idol, or Jay could have given it to Taylor because they were very close. Michelle didn't have an idol, they were pretty sure, and they figured if one of the two guys are going to play an idol for each other, they're not going to play it on Michelle. So you take out the person who's the lowest necessarily on that. You take out the least threat to have an idol, right? And that way you still get the number. You still take out one of their numbers. It's not one of their biggest numbers, but you still take all their numbers. Now they want to. Now it's just all that's left is Danny and Franny, and that rhymes. And now you can just throw a vote on. You can split on them even.
Yeah, but is this based on them with the knowledge, knowing what was going on that night, or no?
Well, there's rumor
Because
that
I don't think they had any idea what was happening, and I think Jam just voted with them, so they didn't know the wiser.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And Carson.
But the thing is, if they were thinking enough ahead, they would have to figure that somebody from Green had an idol.
Yeah.
All right, Matt didn't go out with it in his pocket because he would have played it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either Franny or Danny or Heidi, I guess, has it. Right? They might think Heidi has it, but if they have any idea that maybe one of them has it, you vote for the person who's least likely to have it or have it played on them.
Yeah.
And that way, voting for Franny is fine, but she's at least second most likely to have an idol. Right? So if you're gonna throw it on her, I would throw on the person who's least likely to have an idol or least likely to have it played on them, and that way nothing bounces back on anybody. You still take out one of theirs, and now next time, if you want to get rid of Danny or Franny, you split it. You can have 4 on one and 5 on the other, and if they do have an idol, they find another idol, whatever, you split it. You flush that idol and you get rid of the other person, and now you have the numbers.
Right.
So I think that would have been the smart way to go. Vote for the person least likely to have it, and I think it would have been Heidi. That's who I would have thrown the vote on. But hard to say.
It's just hard to say that in general, though. How can you look at someone and think they're the least likely to have an idol? Anybody can have an idol.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true, but it's.
Didn't she go on any of the adventure things?
Yeah, I think so, and I think she actually found a fake idol too. Honestly, I don't know, but
that was
Jamie. I get confused. Still, but no, I think the thing is though, like, yes, it's true, but you look at who seems to be the closest in the alliance, right? If
that still doesn't have anything to do with
but it does though because if you have your own idol, that's great, But if there's an idol that you know about and you think the person could play it on you, like that's why like when they voted for the example I gave earlier, when they voted for Michelle, they knew that she may have an idol, anybody can have an idol, but they knew that Jay or Taylor probably had it, and if they had it, they would play it. If the other one, if they voted for Taylor, Jay would play on Taylor. Same with vice versa. They knew that odds of Michelle having it were low, and odds were even lower that one of those two would waste it on her. So that's why they threw their votes on her. So I feel like that's how like you want to look at like the dynamic of that alliance and say, okay, I think Danny has it. I think he would either play it on himself or Franny. I don't think he's playing on Heidi. It's a gamble either way, right? But you taking on the biggest threat, like if you voting for the biggest threat is not always the best way to go because that person might have more bags, more options. The person who's kind of just there, who doesn't seem to be doing much, maybe the one you want to get rid of. You take out the lowest person on their alliance, you still take away a number, and again, they're not going to waste their firepower on somebody who's lower on the totem pole. And that's a lot of times like that's happened, a few times in the history of the show. And I think it's maybe the smartest way to go. Again, maybe they misread that. Maybe they thought Heidi was the one pulling the strings, so they voted for Franny because she was on the outs because she was close with Matt, which she was. So maybe that's the read they made, but I didn't see them. They didn't show them the show, so I wouldn't know that.
I was surprised that Danny would throw his idol on Franny.
100%. So. And the only reason he did is because he thought, I can save her. We can bounce, 4 votes off. I think he thought he'd have 1 or 2 more votes going for Brandon anyways.
Yeah.
I thought he figured. I figured he thought at least would be 5-5, and he canceled 5 votes, and and then it's that's 5-0 on Brandon instead of 3-0. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of where it ended up going. But I'm surprised he did too. I think the only reason he did is because he figured, this might be the only chance I had to turn the numbers in my favor. I don't think he even did that based on how it went. No. So it's interesting. It was an interesting move by Danny. I think he had the right intention with it. I don't think it was necessarily executed correctly. And for Brandon, I think if he was a little more flexible, he could have said, okay, well, Danny or Franny, where do you want to go? Which way do you want to vote?
I mean, he better be very secure in the people he's aligned with because doing that just got him a target. So. Oh,
for sure. And he said that if he lost Franny, I always feel like it's better to save an ally than save an idol. But in this case, how good of an ally is Franny?
Not at all.
So I think if somebody gives her a better offer, she'll take it. So you would waste your idol on somebody. But Danny still, I'm not gonna talk about Danny just yet. I think he made as good of a move as he could have in this week. But that being said, I think Brandon, if Brandon isn't so like it's our yellow team or orange team, whatever the hell it is, against the greens, and that's what we're doing, and that if he wasn't leading that war, I feel like he could be a little more flexible, maybe make a different move that could have saved him. But he was basically entrenched. He entrenched himself, and then now there's really nowhere to go. When the grenade falls in your trench, you're kind of screwed. So, yeah, I think that's where Brandon went wrong.
Yeah.
So, anything else to add to that?
No.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the bottom player of the week this week.
Kane,
yeah. So why Kane?
It's not in a good spot, I guess.
I mean, he lost his number 1 ally, for sure.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Well, you've got Carson now, too, but
him
and Brandon were close.
But Carson's also, that's the thing. And that's exactly what you're right. You're exactly right. Him and Brandon were close. Him and Carson are close, Carson's close with everybody. So it's like your best friend who has all these other friends, but they're your best friend. You're not their best friend.
Carson also saved Kane before, though, so I don't 100% agree with that. I think Carson would bring Kane into their little shindig now.
I think he wants to. Mm-hmm. And I think Kane's in an okay spot, not as bad as it seems, but it's also as if Carson does that. Yeah. If Carson doesn't do that, he's screwed. Yeah. And he's next. Mm. Right? So I think the only thing saving Kane right now is that he's closer with Carson, who's kind of the kingmaker. Mm-hmm. And if Lauren doesn't win, I think they'd rather take out Lauren because they can lose Lauren and not really care. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's gonna be like too like, oh, we have to save Lauren. I think the only one who really wanted to save Lauren was Brandon. Yeah. So I think that's the only good thing for Kane is that he has maybe Carson wants to work with him and keep him in the game. Mm-hmm. But he lost no one ally this week, and he was also very he was also very cocky, and that is never a good look, especially when your ally gets voted out.
Right.
So, what's Kane at now for plus and minuses?
-3.
Negative. Okay, so he's right around it.
Yeah.
Close to even.
Yeah.
Cool. So he gets the 2 negatives for this week. Put him at -3. Let's go ahead and talk about everybody else. Obviously Brandon gone. What was Brandon at when he got voted out?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 +7.
+7. So he was doing really well. Obviously, when you're entrenched in your side and your side keeps winning, that's a good thing. But obviously, the 3 tribe thing kind of screwed him too, right? If he was in a tribe of 8, and I guess another tribe of 8, and that tribe is down to 3, or whatever, they wouldn't have enough really firepower to go against them. But when there's 2 other tribes, there's usually enough pieces there to form a rebellion, and so that's what kind of happened to Brandon too. Who else? What's next?
Carson.
What's he at?
Positive.
All the way down the line.
9.
+9. So he's definitely got the highest score for sure.
Yep.
So far, maybe one other person, but we'll talk about that coming up. Who's next?
Franny,
what did she get this week?
she got a negative. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So she's at a -3.
-3. Yeah. So Carson, he's kind of in the spot where everyone wants to be. He can go anyway. He has all the directions. He has all the connections to everybody. Whichever way he wants to go, he basically makes the decision. Franny, kind of the opposite. She had the idol played on her to save her, and that helps. That's great, but it's not going to get you, to the end because she lost her only real ally, and not for nothing, but she should have taken it as the positive that it is, because when you're in an obvious pair and the other part of the pair is taken out, your threat level goes way down. So take that as a positive, and go play the game and go in. Plus, you have an automatic jury vote, which nobody seems to be caring about. Right? So you get to the end, you got at least that one vote over everybody else guaranteed. Take it for what it's worth. Again, back to Keith's season, there was a rumor that originally there was pairs that were there near the end, and the plan was for the pairs to vote themselves out, or vote each other out, so that way there was a guaranteed person on the jury for them. And that way there's basically 3 pairs, at the end. Then they vote each other's pair out. So now it's just one of the 6 of them is going to win, and they decide who's got the most pull in the game to win against the other 2. So not a bad idea. And the people who need knows that she's got that automatic vote. She just needs to take it as that. Take it as okay. Him being gone, lower my threat level, give me a chance to play and have an automatic vote.
Right.
Doesn't seem to think about that though. Was almost voted out. Wasn't for the idol. So
Yeah.
-3 for her. You said right?
Yeah.
What is next?
Lauren.
What did Lauren get?
Positive.
And why?
She won immunity.
That's really the only reason, because she did lose an ally also, and probably the only person, her only ally left in the game, really.
Yeah.
But she won immunity, and that helps. So I give her a positive on that. What's she at?
-2.
-2. All right. Next.
GM.
Yeah. What's he at?
Positive
This week, and again positive this week because he was again in the middle. He seems to be a target of every other vote for the most part, but he's in the middle. He's can make the decision to go either way, and he's really close with Carson, and him and Carson seem to be kind of making the decisions of which way to go. At least this week, and seemingly that'll be the plan going forward. So can he win? Sure, because anybody can win. But he's just got so many. He's been he's been in quite the mess this season. But maybe he'll find his way through. And now it's basically 3, 3, and 3, right? 3 original yellow, 3 original green, 3 original purple.
Yeah.
So, well, how many does he have now?
-1.
-1. Great.
Yes.
That's pretty good considering what's left. Who's next?
Heidi.
What'd you get?
Positive.
And again, because she was on the right side of the vote, basically, her side lost the vote, but the idol got them their side the advantage in the numbers. So that's really the only reason again for her. Didn't do a ton other than that. But and it's really interesting because her and Jamie wanted to work together. They're like the first ones to say they want to work together, and then they vote differently. It's weird. I don't know, but Heidi is at what?
Neutral.
Neutral. Even. Broke even. All right, she's at par.
Yep.
What's next?
Jamie.
Jamie.
Negative.
Negative. Why? I mean,
No.
not really on the show. Didn't do really anything in the challenge. Wasn't really, wasn't really part of the vote.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of existed today.
Yeah. And she does most weeks.
Most weeks, yeah, exactly. What is she at?
-6.
-6. Great. She's the new Matt.
I guess, yeah.
I guess. And what else? Is that it?
Our top player.
Perfect. All right, so that's it then.
Yes. That's
Sweet. So let's go ahead then and talk about the player of the week this week. And the player of this week is
This is your decision. It's Danny.
Danny.
I don't 100% agree with it.
Okay. The only reason I said Danny is because he made the vote go the way he wanted. It's his move. He gets credit for it. He saved Franny, and he got Brandon out, which is also kind of awful because they were supposed to work together.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really think about that till now either. But
Yep.
they were supposed to kind of build a thing across tribe lines.
And Carolyn was there for the whole thing, so she can talk about how he'll just backstab anybody.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be more negative for him, but this is the only positive for this week for him.
Yeah, net positive, net negative probably, but it's one of those moves where I think it's a net negative move, but a big positive move for the week. So there's really nobody else this week who really, voted correctly, made any sort of move strategically or anything like that. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
As far as long-term prospects, probably not as good. But he's played this week because I'm looking at just this week. And he wasted another probably didn't need to waste. I mean, I always say keep an ally more than an idol. An ally is more valuable than an idol.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think he probably should have kept the idol.
I just mean, in general, he got rid of a big threat, but he's also a big threat because he's a muscular person that is good at challenges, and he should have wanted to keep another person around.
Yeah, I agree. No,
So
I
think he
agree.
made a stupid decision.
I agree. I think I agree kind of that he's you bet you're going to look at Brandon because Brandon's a big guy. You can't hide. Danny's almost just as big.
Danny's a little guy, but he's also a strong guy.
Yeah, he's shorter, but he's also big.
Right. So he's next, and he should really be starting to think about that.
Yeah, for sure. And he said, and they show the preview that Carolyn doesn't like. He wants to get rid of him, which
because she's got the proof that he can flip.
Yeah, and also she's just has very little impulse control. I feel like
she is, but she also was there for the whole thing of him talking to Brandon and being BFF. So I was surprised that he was willing to get him out.
Yeah, I know. I probably would have thrown out on that. If I'm gonna save Franny, I would probably throw the vote on somebody else personally.
Mm. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I said this week he made a big move. He made a splashy move. He is the player of the week, but next week he could very well be gone because of this move. So
yeah,
if you're looking at just as hindsight, he might look back and regret the move. But it was a fun, exciting move this week. So what's the after this week? What's the total now?
+7.
+7, yeah. And again, I feel like he was doing really well too. I feel like he was showing that he's. I feel like he was hiding behind the fact that he's just a dumb meathead, but he's actually pretty strategic. And now I think that cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
And on your lap.
Yeah, cat's on my lap.
So,
I'm not in the food on the counter.
No, that's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else?
Nah, I don't think so.
So, this season's kind of been a bit of a striptease. A lot of moves are like, oh, that'd be a huge move. That'd be really fun. That'd be really cool. And they pulled off that move. It's like, wah, wah. Like we were saying, like, oh man, maybe Jam Jam told them that they're gonna vote for Danny, or they're gonna vote for Franny, and Danny's gonna play the idol on her. So they're gonna switch it to Danny or to Heidi instead. Danny plays on Franny, and it ends up being him, or they switch it to somebody else last minute, or they do a split of some kind or whatever. Blah blah. No, there's Jam Jam didn't tell him. Danny played it on, and Jam Jam didn't tell his ally who he voted with, which is weird. And then he played on Franny. Franny got saved. All the votes. It was like this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, or it's gonna be the most obvious thing that's gonna happen.
Yeah, but like I pointed out, Jam Jam and Carson they all voted for Franny because they want to make it seem like they were also blindsided, so they can stay on either side.
And I think, so they're the ones really thinking ahead,
Mm-hmm.
really. So it's interesting. But Bailey wants to, hang out, so we'll do that. Selena wants to hang out, so we'll do that. And
Someone's got dinner to put away.
yeah, we'll go ahead and call it a night. Yeah, we ate a little late tonight, but it's all good. Be sure to subscribe so you miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, Pavement Road Prod on Facebook. It's all up to date. I added all the videos, so it's all there. You can like our page, like I said. You can email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe right there on the YouTube channel. Share the post, tell your friends. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll have the episode again to break it all down, tell you all about it, and go from there. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No.
No. Yeah, it's kind of how it's been. The season's been kind of like, all right, yeah.
You expected to get better?
No, I really didn't, and I really.
You're just.
The cast has been fine. The cast has been fine. The episodes have been fine. Like nothing's been blowing me away. I've been like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. It's been like, wow, that could be cool that happened, but it'll probably be the obvious thing that happens, and that's kind of what it's been. So, been overall pretty straightforward, all things considered. Yeah. But on to next week, and then a couple more weeks left of the season. So, woohoo!
Yay!
Until next time, I think that's it, right?
Yes.
Okay, I got nothing else for you because the tribe has spoken.